Hey there, great to see you and hope I find you well. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcoming you up here to Weir Yard. And this video is in part a massive, super huge thank you to one of our subscribers, Tim Krinsky, who has very kindly sent over a mystery parcel to the channel. And this arrived unexpectedly for me just yesterday, and it was an amazing squee moment when I opened it up. And Tim has so kindly, with amazing generosity, sent over 3 locomotives and 4 coaches across 2 different scales to the channel. And he also sent an email which came via the Cupboard Monkey, and it sets out why he has sent this amazingly generous gift to the channel. So without further ado, and with a big thanks to Tim, I'm going to be taking a look at just what came in that big box in the post yesterday. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support comes from...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest loco.
But I'm really blown away with Tim's generosity, and it's just amazing to look through some of these items that he's gifted to the channel. And certainly there's one locomotive in particular that I was actually looking at on Clark Railworks. So Tim, you've saved me the buyer's remorse. Thank you so much. And don't forget to tickle that like button, share this video, and also subscribe to the channel to be the first to know about new videos as and when they come up. And don't forget as well that you can also become a Patreon and help support the channel to keep making the videos that you want to see, or you could also become a channel member too. It's a great way to support the channel and to keep us putting out the content that you want to watch. But what did he send? Well, without further ado, let's take a look. Those of you who've been keeping an eye on the Facebook group will have seen that I recently got a very generous parcel out of the blue full of various bits and pieces, and this came from a subscriber, Tim Krinsky, and you might remember them in one of the Monday clubs. They very kindly gave away 50 free channel memberships to various people who were there. And then they, out of the blue, they've sent a parcel of stuff to the channel, and I'm blown away by their generosity. So we've got some Cato items, in fact quite a lot. These 4 are coaches, and this is the locomotive. And these are all N gauge. It's a US N gauge, and certainly the Cupboard Monkey was eyeing these up with a great deal of delight. And I will get into them in a moment. But then there's also 64XX, and you might know, so, well, where is it? It's not in the box. Yeah, I've been playing with it, so it's there. I will show you in a moment. But this is actually a TMC expertly weathered one. It's got extra details on it. It really is quite exquisite. So I'm incredibly impressed, not least because I don't have a 64XX, or at least I didn't have a 64XX in my collection, and now thanks to the generosity of Tim, I do. And it's actually the very same one that I'd been looking at on Clark Railworks, I can't believe that it's here. It's arrived out of the blue. And then the other locomotive that is very kindly sent is this from Hornby, one of the N15s, and these really are beautiful locomotives. They're one of, in my view, one of the flagship models that Hornby produce, and they really are excellent runners, and I'm just blown away by this factory weathered example, and certainly it's a silky smooth runner. But I'll just read you a little bit of the email that Tim sent. It says, I intended to have a note going along with them because they didn't actually arrive with a note. So we were like, oh, did I get drunk last night and order some stuff unknowingly? But no, it was apparently there was supposed to be a note, but it's not made it into the box. So it was a thank you for all the hard work you guys put into the channel. The information on products and how-tos is really amazing, and it's been very helpful for me taking on my own layout. The video library in particular is amazing. It's not easy to model British Rail in the US. Everything I purchase is from the UK, Clark Railworks being the top for adding to my collection. I know you do not ask or require a lot from your subscribers, but you guys work very hard and have for some time. So I have sent along from my favourite pre-owned bargain shop, N-scale Genesis locomotive and passenger cars for your N-scale layout, and for Jenny, a pair of 00 engines. She likely already has, LOL, but they looked amazing. Actually, I certainly didn't have a 64XX, and whilst I do have an N15 already, it wasn't this one, so this really is a beautiful model. And it says, do not feel obliged to keep them, but they are yours to do as you wish. Now, I will keep and cherish these. So thank you so much, Tim. And the email was sent via the Cupboard Monkey. Really, really blown away with the generosity. So I'm going to actually have a good look through these. So I've already got them out of the box. So first of all, let's look at the 00 items. So the 64XX, and I will do a DCC fitting guide for this and the N15, but certainly these are quite different from the 87XXs, which I've actually got a couple of already. And this is a variant that Bachmann have done for quite a while, and it's the much taller cab variant. And the reason the 87XXs fare quite well in preservation is simply because, being a lower cab, they had a much tighter loading gauge, smaller loading gauge, I should say, and that meant that for industrial purposes, and particularly the London Underground, they were quite useful motive power after BR had done with them. So a number passed through to the NCB, Stevenson Clark, and London Transport, and from there ended up passing to preservation. But the 64XX certainly has a much higher profile cab. There's quite a few other detail differences, but from Bachmann, they are a stunning performer. This is the DCC ready one, and as you can see, it's had quite a nice, it's a subtle but very effective custom weathering, and that there, it looks like an oil stain, but it's the water stain from the filler, and that's been done incredibly well actually by TMC through their custom weathering and detailing, and it's had some additional accoutrements. We've got real coal in the bunker, and it's just little details like that which really make these stand out. We've got the suggestion of grease on the buffer heads, and this is a well-maintained but work dirty locomotive, and that is really quite exquisite. And I'm just so amazed that the actual locomotive I was looking at on Clark Railworks is the one that Tim chose to send. So I am really humbled with Tim's generosity on these. Now the next one up is the N15. And this particular one was referred to as a Scottish Arthur. Now the King Arthur class, so named because they were all named after things out of the Arthurian legends, place names associated, people within the legends. And initially they were built by the London and South Western Railway. Around about 1918 they started to be built, but construction overlapped grouping, and the early Southern Railway also ordered several, and these they ordered from a Scottish locomotive builder. Off the top of my head, I can't remember whether it was Nielsen or Dubs, or perhaps it was one of the others, I don't know. I did read it and I've forgotten the information, but certainly these were built up in Scotland by one of the locomotive builders there, and so they were dubbed Scottish Arthurs, and they actually had quite a long service history. They were regarded as one of the best of the Southern Railway's express locomotives, and really interesting layout. I do love the splasher plate there we've got, which rather than having a little hump over each wheel, a bit like what you see on the 64XX, we have this sort of trough that covers all three driving wheels, and this is very similar to the 460 GWR counties as well, had this arrangement. It's very much a calling card of the pre-grouping locomotive designs. They kind of, you can date a locomotive's design period by certain design cues, and that is certainly one that kind of places it in the pre-grouping period. But this again, another beautiful model from come via Clark Railworks. This time it's a factory weathered option, and Hornby have done quite well with factory weathering. It's not overstated. It really is quite nice, and you can see that these have got a real bulk to them. They're a lovely locomotive and a particularly peculiar cab design to my eyes. We've got the large oval style spectacle plates at the front, or the sight glasses spectacle, the windows in the front of the cab. But there's no side windows. There is a cutout at the back, but I always think they look very slab-sided, which must have given them some really quite good protection from the weather inside. And just looking in there, there is a lot of separately picked out detail. And this is from a period where Hornby had really upped their game. And I guess they've been forced to, because the likes of Bachmann had come into the market and shaken things up, so they had to up their game, and they rose to the challenge with models such as this N15. And we've got additional tender pickups. Later on, the model was changed to have a more permanent connector between the two, and the DCC socket was moved into the tender so that sound installation was a lot easier. But the early ones are actually still pretty good. They're DCC ready with an 8-pin socket, but it's in the locomotive, and I will be showing you how to DCC fit these a little bit later in the video. Moving on now to the N-gauge locomotive. This is a Kato, which is a Japanese company. This is the GE P42 Genesis. Now, I must admit that this is not a type of American locomotive I was familiar with. And we've got the Ellis Clark Railworks business card here, and on the back, we've talked about this on the channel before, we've got the overview, and this is actually already DCC fitted. It says it's got a Digitrax decoder, and you can see here, let me just move some of this extra paperwork out of the way, that this is a really lovely model. This is one of the Amtrak locomotives, and just see if we can remove that protection from the bottom there. So this is, I'm not quite sure on the years. I'm going to say 1980s, but it could be 70s, or it could be 1990s, I don't know. But certainly these have quite a presence. They're almost kind of double-deck train. You look at that. The cab there is really quite high up. In fact, that is quite a ladder up to the door there. And we've got a bow arrangement, and that is all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup. And I think we've also got lights on this as well. It'd be interesting to get this up and running, albeit at the moment I'll have to do it on the rolling road, because the only layout I've got where I can run these things continuously is Mynydde Tatus, albeit that Mynydde Tatus is 009, but these will run on the 009 track. And Tim's also very kindly got this set of 4 coaches to go with it. And you can see there, yeah, they are double-decked Superliners. And these do look really quite nice. So I'm just going to get that out of the box. And there's quite some weight to these. I'm not massively... I mean, I know of Kato, but I haven't had them in my hand previously. But I like the interiors on these. There's a lot going on. Oh, a sleeping car. So that's interesting. So we've got... This is the corridor side, I think. And then... That is really, I mean, for N gauge, this is really nice. The fidelity of that printing really is nice. We've got metal wheels. So are all of these different? I'm looking to see catalogue numbers. Yeah, so that one is different. I'm just sort of looking closely there. So we've got a sleeping car, and wow, we've got well, we've got the full train, I guess. Well, a 4-car train. I'm not sure how long a train these would run as. That's quite interesting. So coach, I think, is the US designation for what we would call standard class. And on an aeroplane that would be economy. I think they call coach. And what else have we got? We've got a dining car. Interesting. So I'm guessing that the kitchen on the dining car would be on the downstairs bit. So really is quite interesting. The corridor connection's quite high up. So I'm guessing the downstairs area, it's you've got to go back upstairs to get through to the next coach. So in many respects, if you were sat downstairs, you'd be less likely to be disturbed on a rail journey. Again, it's something that's been recommended to me. Sir Ken of Patterson suggested, actually, talking after filming a What's Neat this week, that if I am able to get over there, that actually the flying into Chicago and then catching the train down from Chicago to St. Louis would be really quite an excellent trip. And certainly it's on the cards. If I can reach a point where I can afford to get to the US, then I would love to do that, actually. Taking a US rail journey, I think, would be an excellent way of seeing some of the country. And I can imagine the view you would get from the top deck on these. So there we are. That kind of dates it. Coach smoking. I don't know, can you still smoke on US planes and trains and stuff? Certainly in the UK, smoking's gone. Kind of outlawed it in all public type places, certainly every enclosed space. So there's no longer smoking areas on trains or aeroplanes. But I don't know what the state of play is in the US. I guess it's probably the same, but I honestly couldn't tell you. But these really are exquisite. So thank you so much, Tim, for your amazing generosity. And I'm going to give these a quick spin on the track. But actually, we're going to DCC fit them first. So we're going to move over, and I'm going to get a Trainomatic decoder into each of the 00 locomotives. The N-gauge one doesn't need it. I'm actually looking forward to just seeing how well that runs. So thank you again to Tim Krinsky for your amazing generosity. I'm going to do a quick DCC fit now, and I've got some Trainomatic decoders, 8-pin and 6-pin, although actually I've already sneakily gone ahead and put a decoder in this so I could play with it last night, but I will show you exactly how I've done that. Get a flathead screwdriver, and this is not for undoing the screws, this is simply to get in and free up the couplings. So we're going to pull out both of these, and the certainly the 87XX pannier tanks, which I've got quite a few of, that's the main way that the bodies actually fit to the chassis, but there's just a little bit of an extra step on this one, but I will talk you through it. So we're going to undo the one at the front, undo the one at the back, And on the 87XX, that's actually all that you need to do. But on this, there's also an extra one there, which we undo, which is a bit sneaky. It doesn't really draw attention to that in the paperwork. But when I take it out, you can see that's where that extra screw screws in, just underneath the cab floor. It's a bit sneaky beaky, that is. But once we've got that off, there's actually plenty of room inside, and you can see there the 6-pin wired decoder that I've already gone ahead and put in. There's just a 6-pin socket here, and take note that if you've got the locomotive facing forwards, that pin 1 is on the right hand side, and then this all tucks in there really quite neatly. You can see there, no wires sticking out, and then into the body we've got plenty of space in here. It's actually a surprisingly roomy model for its size, and I find you put the back down in first and then slide the front in, and you hear a little bit of a click going on there. And then it's just simply a case of reassembling it. Slightly bigger screw appears to be the one that goes at the bunker. Don't over tighten these. And then we've got 2 countersunk screws, one at the front buffer beam, and then this little sneaky beaky one, which is often what people go, I can't get the chassis out. I've undone what it says in the manual, but that is why. And then we're going to put the couplings back in. The only reason we have to take the couplings out is because they cover those 2 screw holes normally. So just going to slide them back in, and there you have it, DCC fitted. So I'm just going to put that to one side. When it comes to the N15, I've already put its tender to one side. We don't need this. This is a locomotive based socket. And what we're actually looking for is there's a tiny little screw, just if you part the tender coupling to one side, you just see down here we getted it with a small jeweler's screwdriver with a crosshead. And then once that is loose, you can feel everything kind of start to slide out, and it's a little bit of a tight fit, so just wiggle it about until you're happy that comes out. Now, just looking inside the locomotive, and I try and show you this, but just down there's a little slot into the boiler weight, and that's actually a perfect location to slide a decoder in, and that then in turn frees up any space here if you want to add stay alive capacitors. Then it just makes it a little bit more possible. Now I'm going to go back to my little flathead screwdriver just to get in underneath, lever up at the back, lever up at the front, go back to the back, and it's just caught underneath that wire, and there. So that's just popped out. And we've got pin 1 bottom left. Let's get that decoder out. So we've got our 8-pin decoder, and make sure that pin 1, which is orange, we're lining that up. Make sure the pins line up, and then firm pressure, just wiggle that back down. Don't force it, as always. If you feel that you're forcing it, then it's probably because the pins aren't lined up. We've then got plenty of space, and what we're going to do, actually that looks like, oh, that is a tighter fit than normal. So I'm going to take back some of what I said about that slot, because on this model, decoder's slightly too wide for that. Now on some of the other models these decoders just slide right in, but that doesn't want to on this, so we're going to go for a different approach. And what I like to do is just twist up the wires. This keeps them nice and neat. Tuck the decoder on top and the wiring into this little bit of a gap underneath. I'm thinking actually I'm going to go with Captain tape. So this is just to, what I'm going to do with this is just keep those wires neatly in place so that they don't get in our way when we come to put the body on. Very carefully feed that decoder through, and that should hopefully allow us to get this wire right where we need it. So we've got that all restrained, and then it's simply a case of slowly fitting that back in and just working the body back onto the chassis. And once the body is back down and we've got it secured, then it's just simply a case of tightening that screw, making sure all is well. And then for both of these locomotives, it's off to the programming track for final programming of DCC addresses. I hope you really enjoyed today's video and found it informative, and again a huge thank you to Tim and his generosity, and really was just blown away when this parcel arrived. And I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think about some of these items that we've received today? Two different scales, so certainly N gauge, that's going to give the big boot up the bottom to the covered monkey for doing that N gauge build, but I'm also going to look forward to running that locomotive and coaches, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll make it round Myneth Tatters, because that's what I've got for running N gauge models at the moment. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself. Please like, share, subscribe, and also you can head on over to Patreon and help support the channel to keep making the videos that you want to see. We've also got the full merch store down below for t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and so much more. And we've also got a link in the description box for Clark Railworks, which is where Tim sourced all of the items that we were looking at today. And thank you so much, Tim. Until next time, you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling. Bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabrique.co.uk. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double-O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com, and don't miss out on your latest loco.
I'd like to thank everybody over on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to our Patreon heroes. Without you guys over on Patreon, we really wouldn't be able to keep making the video content that you see on this channel. And don't forget that you can also head on over to patreon.com/JenniferKirk and check out the different tiers of rewards. Thank you so much. You are absolute legends.